water, does it actually change structure when it comes out of a tap, when it's aerated, when it's boiled, when it's stagnant? And does that in turn then affect your plants and what they get benefit-wise from the change in structure? Today's video, we're going to look at exactly that. If you don't know who I am, hi, hello, my name's Ashley. I have a bachelor's of science in soil science. I like to take said science and apply it to all things plants. And in this video, we're actually going to look at the science of water because there's a lot that people don't know about water, and it is more than just your simple H2O. It is very much alive, it is very much moving, and it is very much constantly changing in some way, shape, or form. And that ultimately does kind of affect some things. So in this case, we're obviously going to be looking at how plants react to that type of water. Now, this video inspo came from actually a baby shower I was at. My little baby sister is about to have a baby. And hopefully by the time you see this video, that baby is out and I have a beautiful baby nephew at this point in time.
Super fun fact, I actually do have a baby nephew now. And on top of that, someone from the Geek Crew delivered him. And she was fabulous. She was one of the nurses. I wish I was joking, but I'm dead serious. So thank you to whoever that was. I didn't catch her name. I know you, Flower Farm out by Delisle, and I'm proud of you. Thank you.
I mean, naturally, I took her to a place that had a lot of plants. It was kind of like an atrium. It was our art gallery here in Saskatoon. It has a very beautiful little restaurant inside of it called Hearth Restaurant. They have a ton of plants. And my cousin-in-law had brought up the fact that she'd read somewhere that structure of water can change and suggested we make a video. So Courtney, if you're watching, this video is for you. I actually don't think Courtney would be the one watching this. I think it would be James that would be watching this video, oddly enough, because he's the one that watches my videos, who is actually my cousin in and of himself. So let's get into water. So here's what people say. River water is considered more alive. Mountain water is considered more structured. Stagnant water is stale. That's kind of the three main ones I've really heard about. Beyond that, when it comes to something that's maybe not as natural, we're talking about boiling water and how it's devoid of anything and everything, and how microwaved water is like a nuclear bomb about to be set off. And the reality is if any of that is true, then you very well may need to actually change how you water your plants if you want to get the best results. And this is particularly true when we're talking about watering little baby seedlings, kind of like watering little baby nephews. So we know what water is, H2O, 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. And the structure that is water, H2O, does not change, whether it's running through a river, being flung off the top of a mountain, spending time in my microwave, boiling in my whistling kettle that I spent too much money on because I just wanted a kettle that would whistle, or it's coming out of a water bottle that I filled up 5 days ago and I still haven't drank all of it, so I'm deciding to tap into it now. H2O is H2O, regardless of where it is or what it's doing. Here's the thing though, water molecules do react with each other. And the way that it does this is actually through the hydrogen bonds specifically. These hydrogen bonds break and rebuild trillions of times in a second. So when we're looking at water, we're thinking it's just this thing. And the reality is it's just going off like a meth addict on a really good high, tweaking out in your local downtown area, but in a glass. So what this means is that water can't actually hold a permanent structure. I think we know this. We know this because when we water our plants and there's a hole in the bottom of the container, it seems to somehow end up on the ground. It doesn't want to stay in the container or in the form of the container. So when people are talking about changes in structure, they don't mean structure per se. What they're actually talking about is what is dissolved in that water and or is not dissolved in the water, depending on the situation. So flowing rivers or things getting flung off the top of mountains or water that's simply aerated, you can get aerated taps, for example, obviously has a higher influx of oxygen. And the opposite of that is stagnant water, and still water can and will lose oxygen over time. Roots need oxygen to be able to respire properly. So we need a balance between water and oxygen in a soil system. We also need that balance to be struck in hydroponics, which is actually why in hydroponic systems, we will run aerators. We need that oxygen being pumped into that water continually. Now, luckily enough, if we were to use stagnant water on a soil, we have soil porosity that is going to act as our actual aerator. So the aerator that you have on the tap that causes all the bubbling because there's a whole bunch of little surfaces that things go through and it causes a whole bunch of mixing. Well, that same mixing and gurgling through all those little spaces happens in the soil. So we can use what would be stagnant, still water to water our garden with. And we don't have to worry about causing problems for our plants because the soil is going to be our aerator for us. Not to mention, stale, stagnant water, typically, if it's outdoors, has a lot more biological activity taking place in it. Think like anaerobic compost tea, or my favorite is actually the buildup of algae that we seem to see. So algae is great for soil. So adding stagnant water, in my opinion, usually is a good thing because it does have that kind of added boost microbe-wise, but it also does tend to be a little bit warmer. I love a good sun-warmed water for watering plants, particularly seedlings. Now, water that comes off of a mountain or is ran through rocks is technically got more minerals in it. So we have things like calcium, magnesium, silica, bicarbonates. All of these things tend to be higher in waters that come from these habitats. And this is actually why water from mountains tastes a lot different than something out of a tap. And when it comes to the plants actually taste it differently as well. It is a different pH. It changes soil chemistry if it's added over time continuously. And it also changes nutrient availability. And that more so has to do with that pH. So soil under irrigation, for example, can and will eventually over time change its pH. Alkaline soil usually comes from alkaline water under irrigation. So in my area, we have very alkaline water. If you are continually irrigating an area with that water over time, eventually we're talking very long period of time, that soil will become more alkaline naturally. And that will affect the soil fertility, nutrient availability for better or for worse. So what about boiling water? Well, boiling water does and will kill off microbes. It also will drive off any sort of dissolved gas that's in the system. So if we're talking like chlorine, for example, great way to gas it off. But it also can concentrate minerals within the water because of just evaporation that naturally takes place when we boil water. Now, once the boiled water begins to cool, it does pull gases back into the water, which is very natural, very normal. So chemically, it becomes water again, just normal water again, with maybe higher mineral content and also void of microbes. So essentially, cooled boiled water is perfectly safe to add to your plants. Just obviously make sure it's not boiling hot. The microbes it kills off initially through the boiling is not going to affect or kill microbes that are in your plants in and of themselves. And I could do a whole video on like chlorine and chloramine and whether or not it matters to your plants. But let's just say for the purpose of keeping this video decently timed, the boiling process and the removal of it is not worth your time, in my humble opinion. So we don't have a lot of options when it comes to water. Sometimes we have to just deal with what we've been given. But here are some parameters or things you want to look at that actually do change the water structurally, chemically, or physically that can help you or benefit your plants. Number one is root function is best between 15 and 25 degrees Celsius, which means if you can water your plants between 15 and 25 degrees Celsius with water, you're off to the races. That's not too cold and that's also not too warm. If you have high levels of dissolved salts in your water, so for example, if you are using a soft water system, as the only example I can think of off the top of my head, there is a possibility that you're going to increase the electrical conductivity of your soil, which in turn can actually reduce water uptake, which would make your plants less performative in itch. Other than that, there's not really much you can do to make your water superior. So there's no point in running a tap to your nearest waterfall out in Alberta. And there's also no reason to be staying away from the stagnant dugout pond in your yard, unless, of course, it's laden with pesticides. And obviously, you may want to think twice about that. But otherwise, you should be good. So what about the elephant in the room, microwaved water? I think everyone is always worried about microwaved water. And so here's the thing. Microwaves are electromagnetic radiation, and it's around 2.45 gigahertz for a microwave. This is the addition of kinetic energy. And essentially, because water is a dipole, so it has like a positive and a negative end, it's just kind of sloshing those two molecules up against each other billions of times per second. And that friction is what causes the kinetic energy, which in turn causes the heat. It's the same as if you were to sit here and go like this with our hands. So because heat is heat, this, from all the research I've done, is the same. So if it's in a microwave or if it's on a stove or if you were to sit there and, somehow cause your own friction, kinetic heat on a glass of water, all of the results are the same. The structure of the water stays the same. Everything stays the same. It doesn't cause any issues. But I think the internet does say a lot of the times that it does. And to be quite honest, a lot of the research my gut instinct, to be totally honest, was no, it's got to be different, right? But for some reason, it's not. From everything I've researched, as much as I thought it was as well, turns out it is what it is. So I guess you could boil or microwave your water. It's the same thing, ultimately speaking. Geekery, you have to let me know in the comments down below if you've noticed better or worse results with certain types of water. I'd be interested to know what your answer on that is. This is what Google says you should watch next, and that is my most recent video. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.